Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we're checking out the Play Arts Kai Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Cloud Strife. So this figure came out in 2015 and it's always been one of my favorites. It was the first Cloud Strife that I ever picked up and yeah, I just love this figure so much. So I thought today we would take a look. So I hope you guys will enjoy the video and yeah, let's get into it. Alright, stay tuned guys.
Take it slow.
Okay, so first up, let's take a quick look at the packaging. So on the front we have a pretty nice photo of the figure itself, and down here we have some logos. And on the sides of the packaging it's pretty much the same. We have the logos for Final Fantasy VII AC. And on the back we have a couple screenshots of the figure itself in various poses. And down here we have some credits on the making of the figure. So this is the inside, and once again we have a pretty nice photo of the figure itself, and over here we have a bit of text. So if you guys want to read this, then feel free to pause and read. And right over here we have the figure itself, and a pretty nice window display packaging to showcase the figure inside the box with all the accessories. And so this is just a quick look at my entire Play Arts Kai Final Fantasy VII Advent Children and Remake figures. So these are all the figures that I have in my collection. And right up here at the top we have Cloud Strife displayed beside Sephiroth, Tifa, Yuffie, and Aerith. So yeah, I will have a review of every single figure here. So if you guys want to check it out, then it will be on the channel, so feel free to. So with that being said, let's get into the review. So this is a quick comparison on both of these Cloud figures. So as you can see, we have the AC Clouds and the Remake. So these are both absolutely amazing figures. I mean, these are some of my favorite figures that Play Arts Kai have ever made. It's just such a nice design for a super iconic character. They're pretty similar figures, there's not a great deal of differences. I would say the figures have pretty subtle differences. I mean, for the most part, the main difference on the AC Clouds is probably this cloak piece, which the Remake Cloud does not have. So I would say that's the main difference. But for the most part, they have the same general design of the outfits and the shoulder pads. And here's how the figures look from the back, so you guys can see the differences between the two Buster Swords. Well, this one is technically a fusion blade, which is such a cool design. And this is the iconic original Buster Sword. And as for the back of the figures, it looks very similar. I mean, you couldn't even tell that they're different figures. And just a quick close-up on the face, in case you guys want to check it out. So this is the AC Clouds, and this is the Remake. So yeah, quite a big difference in terms of the face sculpt and even the hairpiece. So I think I like the sculpting a lot better on the face on this AC Cloud. I just think there's a lot more expression and emotion in the face, whereas the expression on the Remake Clouds, it's very soulless, very lifeless. You know, it just doesn't look as great here. But yeah, on the AC Clouds it looks a lot better, I think. Now as for the sculpting in the hairpiece, I do think the sculpting looks a lot better on the Remake Clouds. I mean, the sculpting looks a lot more sharp and a lot more accurate compared to how it looked in the game, as you guys can see. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sculpting is still pretty nice on the hairpiece on this AC Clouds, but I just think it's a little bit better on this Remake Clouds. But yeah, that's a look at the head sculpts. Which one do you guys like better? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so let's go right ahead and take a look at the head sculpts, and let's check out all these details. So I'm just super happy to be making this review for you guys, because this is probably one of my favorite figures in my entire collection. I've had this figure for the longest time, I mean since the release date, so it's a pretty nostalgic figure for me. It's very sentimental. But anyhow, let's take a look at the head sculpts. So I absolutely love the head sculpt. I think this is probably one of the best head sculpts. I mean, it's got a pretty good likeness, I would say, to how Cloud looked in the film. It's got a very sharp sculpt. Nice paint, I think the eyes should be painted green. As you can see, they're painted a very bright blue. So not exactly accurate to the film, but I still like the blue paint job. I still think it looks pretty good. As for the nose and the mouth, it's also pretty nicely sculpted, you know. There's really not much to complain about on the head sculpt. It's a pretty solid sculpt, I would say. He's even got like the earring at the side of his ear, as you guys can see that. So the hairpiece, it's also quite nicely done. I do think the sculpting on the remake version of Klaus on the hairpiece is a lot better. But you know, nonetheless, I still like the sculpting here. And so moving down here to the body piece, and we have this shirt piece, like this vest. And it's even got like super nice texturing, if you guys can see that. Like real fabric texturing, which looks pretty realistic, I would say. I mean, this is quite an old figure, so I think the detailing is pretty good considering how old it is. And here we have the shoulder pad piece with the emblem of the wolf, Fenrir. Very, very cool. And as for the shoulder pads, you can see there's a very nice texture on top of the shoulder pads. It looks very worn out. I do love the remake designs, but the AC designs are my favorite designs for all the characters. You know, AC was the first time I was ever introduced to Final Fantasy VII, so these are like my all-time favorites, most iconic and most nostalgic designs in my opinion. I just love them so much. But anyhow, here's a look at this arm, like this bare arm with the pink band across the bicep. So he does come with a spare arm, so I'll give you guys a look at that alternate arm a little bit later on. Here's a look at the other arm. Once again, pretty exposed joints, but it's pretty common with these older Playarts Kai figures. And so moving down here to the legs, and we have this cloak piece. So this is one of the few Playarts Kai figures which is mixed media. So this cloak is made out of real fabric, which is a pretty cool feature. And there's also like a metal wire inside the frame, so you can pose it any which way you want and it will hold that position, which once again, pretty nice feature. And so here's the side of the figure, and we have a nice profile of the face. Such a nice profile. I mean, I just love the sculpting, especially in the head sculpts. It looks super nice. And of course at the back we have the fusion blades. And of course we have the arms, the gloves, and the size of the body piece, all the clothing. So this is a better look at the legs. You can even see like all the stitching work along the seam line. It looks pretty realistic. And of course we have the boots. And so as for the other side of the figure, once again, it's pretty much the exact same. We have a nice profile of the face and all that nice sculpting work in the hairpiece. Even the earrings sculpted in there. Here's a better look at the shoulder pads with all that nice texturing. And the arm with the pink bands. It's pretty much the exact same as you guys seen before. This is a better look at the size of the fusion blades and the cloak piece. And you can just about see the boots. Okay, so here's the back of the figure, and we have quite a nice look at the hairpiece. So I don't think the sculpting here looks quite as good on the back of the hairpiece as it does on the front. I don't know. It looks a bit like messy here. I really don't know why it doesn't look that great. So as you guys can see, you can insert all the blades into the holster if you guys want. I just don't really choose to do it because it's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit tricky. But I mean, the option is there in case you guys want to do it. But here's how it looks. It's actually quite nicely detailed and it's got quite a nice texture. It looks as if it's almost made out of leather, which I think is what they were aiming for. But anyhow, here's a look at the back of the arms and the cloak piece and the legs. Okay, so this is a quick look at the accessories. So now the figure does come with quite a lot of accessories. He probably comes with the most out of all the Playarts Kai Final Fantasy VII AC figures. But yeah, let's take a look at what we have here. So we have a couple pairs of hands. We have the spare arm, we have all these blades. I'm sure they have specific names, but I'm not entirely sure of what they're called. But here's how they look. Of course we have the figure itself and we have the main fusion blades. And here we have the packaging with the display stand inside the box. So yeah, that's a quick look at the accessories. Quite a lot. So here's how he looks holding the fusion blades. So yeah, this is pretty much how I display the figure, like 99.9% of the time. I just think this is like the most iconic, perfect pose for the character. and he looks great, you know. Such an amazing figure. I just love it a lot. And yeah, one of my favorites. Okay, so here's the figure with the alternate arm piece. So here's how it looks. I mean, it's a pretty cool accessory. I'm really happy that they included this. I mean, it's a much different look for the figure. As you can see, the arm is completely covered in this black cloak piece, which looks way, way different. But I mean, I do like the standard arm, like the bare arm, showing the pink bands. I think both arms are great, but yeah, this one gives a much different look. He looks way more badass. Okay, so let's take a look at the articulation for the figure. So for the most part, the figure's got pretty good articulation, probably one of the best out of all the AC figures. So let's take a look here. So as for the head sculpt, we have a ball joint in there, although it is a little bit restrictive due to this collar piece, which is made out of a hard piece of plastic. So yeah, just a tiny bit restrictive. So as for the arms are pretty much free. You can move them any which way you want. So we have a ball hinge joints at the shoulders, swivels at the biceps, ball hinge joints at the elbows, and ball hinge joints at the wrists. This here shoulder pad piece is also held in place by, seems to be a ball hinge joint, so you can kind of move it up and down like so, which is a pretty cool feature. As for the torso piece, we have a ball joint in there, and we also have a ball joint at the waist. Now, as for this here cloak piece, it's made out of a soft piece of like fabric, like real material, which is pretty cool. And it's also got like a metal wire inside the frame here, so you can pose it any which way you want, and it will hold that position like so. So yeah, once again, a pretty cool feature. As for the hips, we have pretty loud ball ratchet joints, as you guys can hear that. So we don't have a swivel at the thigh, which is a little bit disappointing because they could have easily hidden a swivel joint here. So as for the knee, we have a double hinge joint in there, and as you can see, it can bend all the way up, which is quite a nice range of motion. And at the ankle, we have a ball hinge joint. At the toe, we have a hinge joint, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. This is also made out of like a soft piece of plastic, as you guys can see. Same goes for these belts. So yeah, overall, pretty good articulation for this figure. So that was a look at the PlayArt Kai Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Cloud Strife. I mean, I would be surprised if you guys don't have a Cloud Strife in your collection. It's pretty much an essential figure if you guys want to get into these PlayArt Kai Final Fantasy VII Remake and AC figures. So yeah, definitely pick up a Cloud Strife. It's pretty much the main figure to have in your collection. But anyhow guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are new, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that bell notification so you guys don't miss out on all these PlayArt Kai reviews. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, take it easy guys.